Do you make friends, get to know them really well, and then move on after only a few years? Why does this happen to INFJs? Stick around for today's show to find out. When people think of introverts, they think of those who have long standing relationships. An introvert doesn't know a ton of people, but he or she invests in a few good friends and then tends to maintain those relationships. At least that's what most people think. And that's true for INFJs. We tend to have a few relationships that we keep for a long time. But then we also make friends, some of us at least, and keep them for a few years and move on again. So what's up with that? Let's take a look at why that happens. One thing that I told you in our recent video and suggesting some different strategies and tips for making friends is that you can connect with others in an interest group or a club. So maybe you enjoy astronomy or you enjoy the outdoors or writing, but you connect with other people who like what you like. In essence, on some level, although it's not limited to this, a friend is someone who shares a common interest, which is a really great thing and a great way to connect with someone else. But this can also really be a problem. I read a book not too long ago, a couple of years ago, by Dr. Jack Schafer called The Like Switch. And in his book, he talks about how relationships are constructed and how even an FBI agent can use particular tactics to connect with someone who's a spy for another country, win their trust, and then get the information he or she wants. I'm not suggesting you do any of those things, but in the book, there was a really interesting formula Schafer shares, and it's called the friendship formula. And he pretty much broke friendship down to the following: proximity plus frequency plus duration plus intensity. And what he was saying is that the closer you are with other people, and in essence, if you want to have a friendship, you need to be around them. You can't have a long distance relationship. You probably experienced this at some level or another, whether it was a friend or family member who moved away, or maybe you had a date or a boyfriend or girlfriend that you were trying to maintain a relationship with over a long distance. I did that one time in college, and it was just frustrating. It was hard to keep in touch with each other, no matter how much you want to do it. It's challenging because you aren't seeing the other person face to face. We are people who inhabit physical bodies, and there's something about being in the presence of others. And you can even think about being at a school. The people that you're around when you share the same class, or you're on a sports team, or you're just eating lunch together on a regular basis, you're going to get to know that other person better because you are in close proximity to him or her. And that just builds the relationship up. And to turn the tables, if you take that away, it's hard to maintain the relationship. So proximity is a big deal. Add to that frequency. And frequency is, as you might think about it, how often you see another person. So yeah, maybe I do spend a class with someone, but if it's just like once every 3 months or once a year, it's not going to have the same draw or effect or benefit for the relationship if I'm seeing that person on a daily or multiple times a day basis. The more you're touching base with that other person, the more you're connecting, the deeper you'll go, or the potential is there to go deeper, I should say, especially if you like each other. And you might guess that when you're living with someone else, like if sharing an apartment or maybe it's a family member, the depth of your relationship is just going to be so much greater because you're in close proximity and you're seeing each other all the time. And then you can add to that too the duration. And duration just means when you're connecting with other people, how long are you in connection? Are you there as just a touch point? I mean, you could see somebody multiple times a day and just say hi to him in the office, right? This happens at work all the time, or wherever you work, if it's outdoors or whatever. You could say hi to a coworker and not go that deep. I work with people who I've worked with for like 10 years, and I see some of them, and I think we have decent relationships, but I'm not as close to them as I am with my grade level team who teaches the same grade that I do, because we talk all the time and connect and we eat lunch together. That duration makes a huge difference. And then again, I'm not as close with my grade level team as I am with my wife, because we spend time together each and every day and talk and go deep, and it's for a longer period of time. Now that doesn't always happen now that we have kids, but the illustration breaks down for every illustration. And then finally, intensity is a big deal. Like I just mentioned at work, and maybe and hopefully you can connect with each of these things. While you might have a long period of time on a regular basis that you're working with somebody, it might not be on an intimate level, and when I say intimate, I just mean sharing personal things and connecting on a personal level. Maybe you're keeping it professional the whole time. Maybe it's cool. I mean, you could watch TV beside someone. This is the illustration that Schaefer uses. You could watch TV beside someone every night, and you'd have a couple of hours of viewing together, but you're not really opening up and sharing more about yourselves and bearing each other's burdens and getting to know who the other person is, asking questions about him or her, and then divulging part of your own life. Your intensity is lacking. But then to go back to that spousal relationship, like with my wife, she knows me better than most anybody. Maybe my parents know me decently well on a level that other people wouldn't, but she knows me better than anyone else. There's a deeper intensity. So when you combine all those things, when you combine the proximity, the frequency, the duration, and the intensity, you have the potential to understand how relationships form. How does all of that tie into friendship hopping? Not too long ago, I made a video about INFJ interests and how we get passionate or interested in a particular topic and we dive headlong into it. And we learn all we can and study and try to master the skill. And that lasts about 2 to 3 years. And during that time, we're studying, but we're also connecting with people who share our interests. And we may forge some really good friendships with other people. I can give you some illustrations. Like in college when I played basketball, and I played basketball my whole life, but in particular, I'm thinking of some college friends. I made some great connections with people around my team. But when I moved away from college, those relationships weren't what they were at that time. I fished a lot. I learned to fly fish and fish with a professor that I really appreciated. But again, when I got my job in another place and had to move, that sort of fell apart because I had to spend my time doing other things. Not too long ago, I was writing songs and learning guitar and music theory and really enjoying that. But when I started this YouTube channel, that fell apart as well. And those really solid relationships that I enjoyed investing in, enjoyed connecting with, they changed too. And even as my wife and I have had kids and we moved to a different phase of life, the relationships with some other people have changed too, just because we're doing different things. And maybe that's not the best example, but the interest for sure, the change of interest and the constant change of interest, where as an INFJ, you are always looking for something new after about 2 to 3 years, that can really create some challenges. It can be a benefit too in certain areas, but it can make challenges when it comes to making and keeping friends. And if you've ever wondered maybe why you had friends for a few years and then not after that, well, part of it's because people grow apart as they change their own interests. But a lot of times we as INFJs are exploring new avenues and investigating new passions and interests, and that takes us away from old friends. So how do you deal with this part of your personality? It can be really frustrating if you want more consistency or someone else wants more consistency from your life. So it is something that you should wrestle with and think about. And as always, stretching yourself a little bit out of your personality preference can be helpful because we should all try to develop another side of us, but still keep in mind who you are and lean into your strengths. So that in mind, one thing that I've found helpful is just to appreciate the relationships that I've had. Like I mentioned a minute ago, we change and other people change, and sometimes our paths only cross for a matter of time. So just appreciating the fact that you could have a friendship at all can be a really good thing. Some relationships just won't last as long as others. But on another level, or another point might be that it is good to anchor ourselves to some relationships. Some people we just want to keep investing in just because they're great people that encourage us to grow and to do things that we might not otherwise do, or just inspired us to be people of integrity or to become more the types of people that we want to be. So it's important to keep investing in those relationships, or maybe we can encourage that other person or help him or her to grow. So if there's someone like that in your life, even though you might be naturally compelled to move on to something else, it can be wise to keep coming back to that relationship. And one strategy that I've found particularly helpful is writing down friends' names on a calendar. I know I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. I have a few friends that I try to text on a regular basis, and I actually put their name on my calendar and am reminded on a weekly basis just to touch base with them and to connect. And these people, some of them have moved on to other places in the country. They've moved away, but we're still able to keep in touch because I value those relationships. And then when they come back, we can go deeper again. And who knows, they might move back again at some point. And then others are just close. But just having that recurring event on my calendar, that reminder, or it could even be an alarm on your phone, something just to call me to keep touching base with them is really helpful. And I appreciate that relationship for what it is. Sometimes we do Skype or we FaceTime or something of that nature, but a lot of times it's just a text message once a week. And it's really helpful to keep diving into that. And that is, again, against the grain of our personality. It's actually the furthest from our personality because it's an introverted sensing trait. And that's like the complete opposite of introverted intuition. So it's not going to be easy, but I would really encourage you to push for that because it can add some longevity and some gold to a relationship that's really valuable that you might not keep otherwise. I hope that today's show both encouraged you and helped you on some level. If you'd like to learn more about your personality, then I'd love to give you a free copy of my book, The INFJ Personality Guide. In it, you'll learn about the mindsets and motivations that cause you to do what you do, as well as some common INFJ challenges and solutions to those challenges. Ultimately, I want you to understand that you're not messed up or broken, just different, and the world needs the gifts that you bring to the table. You can get the book one of two ways. First, consider texting the letters INFJ to the number 444999. Alternatively, you can visit ispeakpeople.com/INFJ-personality-guide. And you can find both that number and that link in the description below this video. Well, thanks again for watching today. If this is your first time checking out a video, thanks. I'd really encourage you to hit that subscribe button. There are new shows coming out on a regular basis, and I'd love for you to be a part of this community. If you're already a part of it, thank you so much. You encourage me, and I appreciate you being here. I look forward to seeing you on the next show.